Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for weekly Drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
Yeah, basically we're just regular dudes drinking irregular beer, talking about Magic the Gathering and specifically their online client Magic the Gathering arena.
Yes, it is our favorite arena to be in. I don't know, whatever.
It's the only one I've been in a while, so.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been in a different arena. Like, I guess maybe a soccer arena? Is that an arena?
I'll give it to you.
I guess I'm
You ever been to a hockey game?
Yes, okay, I have been to a... Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I guess I was thinking more like an arena like gladiators, you know?
Yeah.
Like
You haven't been to one of those?
Not in
They're a little
while.
more underground, but I'll
Yeah.
get you in contact with my guy.
Yeah, sweet. I'll join your fight club.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is our Strixhaven happy hour episode where we basically talk about all the things we liked about Strixhaven. But first, each week we both bring a beer, we drink our own, then drink each other's, then rate them on a scale of bronze to mythic and choose the best for last. So with that, Jeff, what is on tap?
All right, this week I brought a beer called Shumei. It's an India Pale Ale made by Blood Brothers, who've been on the show a few times now. It is a 7% beer, and I don't know, the can's kind of in classic Blood Brothers style, where it has this kind of symbol, a triangle symbol that, I don't know, kind of gives me the vibes of like some sort of glyphs, sort of like an ancient cult or something.
Right. Yeah. Shumei. I always pronounce it Shumai, I guess. That's what
I would say Shumei, but I don't know if that's correct.
I didn't even question it. I just thought it was Shumai, and then you said that, and I was like, "Oh, am I wrong? I could easily. I have no idea." Well, I guess we can find that out. I don't know. Whatever. I brought a beer. I brought Raked Over from Wellington Brewing. It's an IPA with mango, pineapple, and habanero.
Ah,
Okay. All right.
that's funky.
Yeah, that's basically why I got it, because I was like, ooh, you don't see that very often. It's 6.9%, and there's like a bunch of shit going on in this can. It's like skulls that are hops, and they're flaming, and then there's drinks and limes and trees, and yep. It's kind of what you would expect from a beer that has habanero peppers in it.
Yeah, it's got to be a little wild.
Exactly. Magic news. All right, let's start with some fun stuff. 100-card Historic Brawl. All right, I don't know if you've played any of this.
No, I actually forgot that was starting this week.
Yeah.
So.
I missed the FNM, but like I joined the event to get the Japanese
Oh, yeah.
cards, right? Card styles, because that's just, I want to do anything that gives me those. But it's good. I mean, like most of the time with these, I'm just going to like find a deck online. But again, just like I thought, this is what Historic Brawl should be.
It's a tall order to build a 100-card singleton deck for a format that might be gone in a week.
It's good. I mean, like I'm thinking that this is just, they're going to just make this Historic
Yeah,
Brawl.
as soon as they announced they were testing this, I was like, I don't see any way this doesn't go well and doesn't kind of become a thing.
Yeah, it has.
Actually.
I think it just has to be like I predicted that Historic Brawl is going to come to what arena? Be evergreen in July.
This is just like Commander for Arena, right?
Yeah.
Historic is all cards on Arena, and Brawl is Commander.
Yeah. So I
Now
think
that it's 100 cards.
exactly. I think that they should just make Brawl is just 100-card Historic Brawl is just Brawl, and there's no standard. There's no all this flippy floppy stuff. Make it one thing. People will love it. I'm all for it.
Yeah, or even just call this Commander, you know? Like, they call Cube Arena Cube. They just call that a cube, you know?
That's true.
I guess it is slightly different, but...
Yeah, it has a different card pool, so and Cube is specifically these are curated cards for this thing, which is true. So I don't see them.
I would
calling
even
it that,
prefer
but-
them to call it like Arena Commander or something, just so if I'm a new player, I love Commander and I hop
okay.
on Arena, I know what it is.
I guess that does make sense. You're right. I think you're right. Arena Commander.
Because people don't remember what Brawl is.
That's
It's not a successful name. You know, it didn't work.
It
so
did
you
not
don't
work.
wanna-
It did not work
You
very
want to
well.
rebrand, I think.
Yeah, maybe they should do that. Anyway, we'll see what happens with that. But in other WotC news or things that they have done, this week, man. WotC officially announced that the Worlds, so their huge tournament, the important thing that they wanted to put their focus on. Pro play's dying, but they want to make sure they put focus on big tournaments, worlds specifically, and make sure the prize pools are really juicy. Well, instead of it being $1 million for the prize pool, it's going to be 250,000.
That's a much smaller number.
That's a very much smaller number. It's bad. It's really bad.
Now, I was a little confused because I kind of felt like I already knew this, and people were blowing up about it this week, and I was like, didn't we already know that?
So we had found this out, right? So if you dig in magic.gg around, there was some articles that already had this information up. It just, I guess, wasn't officially announced.
Yeah, I remember already reading and doing research for this show, reading that there was a $250,000 tournament.
Yeah, and being like, oh, that sucks. Like, oh, the other tournaments are worth more money than the biggest one? Okay, all right.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was really weird. So, there was an announcement that came out, and it came to everyone's attention, and it seemed like none of the pros knew about this before this last week. And, a lot of people are calling for, don't show up, bring all land decks, bring the arena pre-con decks that you get when you start the game, all that kind of stuff.
I'd be the guy tweeting that, and then I'd bring my A-game deck lists and just lean out.
Yeah, you just bring Naya Spirits and just destroy everyone.
I am world champion!
Yeah. You make, the worst card ever. You make something, so rude.
Make a bet with my friends that I could win worlds with, some stupid card.
Anyway, so it's been kind of a little bleak for pro play again. I think Andre Strosky was tweeting that he just, is so bummed out now. Just I don't really want to go now. Right. So it does feel like a downer. I wish there was a better way to spin it, but I don't really feel like there is one.
At the same time, for a whatever 20-person tournament, 24-person tournament, $250,000 is a lot of money that will be going around. So I get that it's not the $1 million they promised when they, announced the tournament. But it's still you still have quite a lot to play for, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you go, you get 60,000 or something, or you can, or I don't really know how it breaks down, but it's just
I'm sure first place is at least 50.
Yeah,
the whole thing's 200.
But still, you still have to get yourself to the place, or I guess they're doing it online, but I don't know. It just makes it feel like we're not serious about it. It's other games care more.
I remember there's some stat or something that Andrea Mengucci is just has won some of the most money out of anyone because he won that one tournament when WotC put all the new money into the pro scene, and then they took it out immediately after that tournament. So
yeah,
Andrea just has a $350,000 career earnings or something. Putting him right at the top with people who played for 30 years and won multiple events. And
that just seems, when they made the announcement that they were killing Pro Magic, basically they were we just want individual tournaments to be better. Awesome. Let's put more money into those. Cool. And it just seems like they're doing the opposite of that. It's
we didn't really buy that though as the reason, did we?
We're just
gonna have super high stakes tournament.
Yeah. So now we'll just have to see. I felt a little bit more, optimistic about the next 2 years. No, I'm not as optimistic about the next 2 years.
I mean, they basically told us the next year is going to be weird, right?
Yeah, and it definitely
there's nothing to qualify for really because we haven't figured that out.
Yeah,
so
you qualify for Worlds, which isn't $1 million tournament; it's a $250,000 tournament. Yay! Do you want to do that? Sure.
Yeah, I'm still in, man. I'll take $50,000 to play Magic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get there, but cool. Whatever. I guess any money is good money, but
I say they should just all go to Worlds and take our approach. Just each bring a 6-pack of beer to the games.
Ooh, that's a good approach.
Play whatever deck they want. Don't worry too much about it.
Yeah.
And just have a blast.
Just have a blast. Yeah. Yeah. Let's start advocating for that. Just go have a fucking party and be trashed. I guess there are probably some bylaws or some rules that you're not allowed to do those things.
It's called, I've
Put it
seen
in
them
your
with coffee
cups. There you go.
before.
Do the coffee
Like,
cup.
have you never gone to lecture and snuggled some alcohol? I did all the time. Of course, I was teaching, but
So this is our Strixhaven Happy Hour episode. Jeff, what is a Happy Hour episode?
happy hour episode is when we drink some beer and we talk about the set, kind of bid it farewell as a new set is about to start its preview season. So we like to focus on the things we really liked about the format, but that's not all we're going to say. We're not going to just say everything was awesome. But, you'll hear about all the bad stuff elsewhere. We're going to tell you why Strixhaven was awesome, what it was trying to do, and whether or not it accomplished that.
Exactly. It's just an hour to be happy.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's pretty easy to do when you're talking with your buddy and drinking some beer. So
Exactly,
I hope you're drinking some beer at home or wherever you are, listener. So let's just jump right into things. Strixhaven, big picture stuff. Where do we want to start with the big picture stuff, actually? Do you just want to start with like the plane or just like the packaging?
Hey, if you liked the packaging, as an arena player, I just saw that same one pack over and over.
Exactly. Yeah. You're like, oh, this is a good one. I like this one.
I feel like I'm gonna go to a store and see all the different packaging for all the sets I've been drafting recently. Like, holy crap!
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe let's just start with Arcavios. We're at a new plane. We've been in the new plane a couple times recently this year. How do we like it? Do we like it?
So I didn't learn much about Arcavios, right? The set is very much located in Strixhaven.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the cost, I guess, if you want to call it that, of making all the college puns.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of card space to explore other areas of the plane. But I think that's kind of cool because now if we go back to Arcavios, we can learn about what it is, because I don't even really know what it is other than it's a place that has a school on it. And so the thing I kind of do know is that basically everyone can do magic here. Because everyone went to this school and then just went and became a farmer or something. But they passed through Strixhaven in their 20s and learned some magic.
Which I think is, I agree with you. I think it is nice that it does feel like one of the first times where we're going to a plane where it's like, we're going to stay in this one hub. There's some other stuff out there. We're not going to go there though. As opposed to being like, we are on wherever, Kaladesh, and we're in the most important part of that, in the city. And
Totally.
There's probably more things to Kaladesh besides that, but they don't really lead you into thinking that there are. And this is like, there's a whole race of beings that we didn't even really see or explore at all. Totally. There's a rich history that we barely got to touch. There's all this stuff. So that's great. I think that's cool. I was happy with it.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. The idea of coming back is exciting, even though I don't even feel like we went to Arcavios the first time.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
So we're going to come back to Arcavios, quote unquote, and I'm going to be excited for it because you're going to get some references of Strixhaven popping in through that, but the set will be mostly a totally new entity.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying this before, I think it would be really cool if there happened to be a hidden college that was all of the allied colors called, I don't know what it would be called. Owl Roost. But
it's Nevax.
Yeah, perfect. Just all of it backwards. But yeah, so I am actually excited to come back to this one. I mean, I don't think there's ever a set that we leave and I'm like, I don't need to be there ever again. That doesn't really happen. I feel like most of the time I'm like, yeah.
I think I felt that way about maybe Battle for Zendikar was a set I did not enjoy very much.
But were you like, I don't want to go back to Zendikar ever again?
I was like, I didn't want to return to Zendikar if Eldrazi are going to be in the picture.
Yeah.
Because that's enough of that.
Well, we both don't like Eldrazi very much, so if we go back to Arcavios because the Eldrazi are there, I probably won't like it very much.
Exactly. It's true of any plane.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I did actually enjoy the return to Zendikar. So.
Yeah. I do think it does leave me with since we stopped doing the two sets back to back or the block structure, it does make me feel like, oh, I wish we could have spent more time here. So very quick. It's it would be nice if there was a second step or whatever, but So I guess in past sets where we've done like 2 or 3, it has been nice to be like, I'm ready to leave now. We have explored this thoroughly. I can go somewhere else, please.
I guess just too many people felt like, they'd overstayed their welcome, maybe. Like 3 sets is a lot.
Three sets is a year, so...
Like, I remember the year of Ravnica that just happened, and I was okay with it because War of the Spark was,
we knew it was going to...
really a Ravnica set, and we knew it was happening, and War of the Spark was unique enough, and I like Ravnica, that I think it was okay, but almost any other plane, I think you'd have a hard time pulling that off.
Exactly.
Imagine if you just don't like Ravnica. That's a year of new Magic sets that you're not excited about.
Exactly. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's like, I specifically don't like Ravnica.
I hate Ravnica.
That's the only one I hate.
It's no Ixalan.
Yeah. Maybe that was the one I was ready to leave. I was like, we've done enough here. We can go. No shade thrown there, but yeah, so as far as like the formats go, we've talked about this a bit, but like I do think we should start with limited. So
Totally.
The limited format, like what do we think? This is one of the things that really impacts depending on where you are or what the set is, whether you like the limited format or not. Which we'll get more into like the actual, what are they called, mechanics in a bit, but like just overall, did you play a lot of Strixhaven limited? Do you like it? Was it fun?
I didn't play a lot relative to, like I guess I played more than I played Kaldheim, but less than I played Zendikar Rising.
Interesting. I thought you played less than you did Kaldheim. I thought we were just kind of...
Oh, I played almost no Kaldheim.
Interesting.
I just did those like sealed arena opens.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And a few drafts right away. But for whatever reason, I was just into the standard format. And that happened a little bit here, where I was just enjoying standard. And then historic went crazy with the mystical archives, which we'll obviously get to later. But it's just like I could play limited, but I kind of just want to like craft all these cards and go play standard.
That's so funny.
But I played a fair amount, like probably relative to most people. Like I think I was platinum in limited.
So I don't... I think I'm still low in... I'm probably like gold or something. I don't know what it is. But I drafted a lot.
I like fully decayed in Kaldheim. So then the fact that I got back to platinum at some point means I played...
enough.
I either went on a fucking heater or I played quite a reasonable amount of Strixhaven.
I think I also went pretty far down in Kaldheim. And then for this, I've drafted a lot, but a lot of them were drunken drafts. So I didn't do super well, but I loved it. Like I was all about it, even though I was doing terribly, which I think, I don't know if this is just it's talking about the set, because I do happen to say this a lot. I think I just like drinking and drafting just a lot.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite things. So,
Yeah, you might be underselling how, well you do too and stuff. Like there's a correlation,
maybe.
I would say, between enjoying it and doing well. But it's not, those aren't the same thing.
Yeah. I definitely have, whatever. I don't want to really get into that. But yeah, I thought it was, I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot more than Kaldheim. I was not really into the Kaldheim draft.
Same. But the thing that got me the most, I think, is it doesn't really feel like a multicolor set to me in terms of the way it drafts. It kind of just feels like almost like you're just playing a core set, but certain color pairs will just all the gold cards are always in certain color pairs.
Yeah,
So you don't have access to all 10 pairs for draft archetypes. You really only have 5. But other than that, it kind of just feels like a nuts and bolts kind of Magic set, rather than some of these multicolor sets feel like you're prescribed.
Absolutely.
If I'm playing red black, I have to do this.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that could happen. And this just felt like even within Witherbloom, you could have an aggressive deck or a slower deck that gains a lot of life or whatever.
Depending on which cards you're using and what you're combining with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I definitely got Strixhaven draft a lot better than Kaldheim. I think Kaldheim, I was just kind of like, it seems super complicated. People keep talking about how much they love this, but I just don't get it. I don't know. And I drafted a lot, and I still felt like it's just not clicking in a fun way. It's just like...
Yeah, I just didn't have that much fun with it, and everyone was like saying how much they loved it. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
So many people were enjoying it. but I wasn't getting that same level of enjoyment
Exactly.
out of it.
And I
I
think
felt like I was supposed to like it more than I did, you know?
yeah, exactly. And with this, I feel like kind of the opposite, where people are not as excited about it, and I was like, this is great. Oh, it's just a blast. I love all this stuff. I like that there's this sweet aggro strategy that plays with black cards because I like that. And so I was like, sure, this is great. I love it. Big props to that. But you said you played a lot of standards, so has the Strixhaven standard felt significantly different than other ones, or?
I actually think it had more impact than people give it credit for.
Okay, all right. I would like to hear your thoughts on this because I don't think it made that big of an impact.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the metagame, you'll see a lot of the same decks, right? But just the fact that Prismari Dragons is a deck now kind of rebalances everything. Like, that's obviously the deck that is most changed by Strixhaven. The addition of Expressive Iteration, as well as Galazeth Prismari as another win con, because the deck used to be really soft if it didn't find Goldspan Dragon. To the point where I think it was kind of unplayable. Because you just had to I don't really have any way to fix my draws. I don't have any great ways to draw extra cards. I'm just trying to get the nut draw where I have interaction into Goldspan Dragon into triple counterspell.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's really annoying when it happens to me. But most of the time, like, your Izzet Dragon's opponent would either do nothing or kill you with a dragon and counter everything you did. And so getting, a second threat like Galazeth that also is a dragon that you can protect the turn it comes into play, ostensibly. And some much needed card advantage / card selection in Expressive Iteration. It just makes that deck tier 1 when before it was like tier 3. And that changes a lot of things around because Sultai has to respect that deck. The deck will just kind of trounce Sultai if Sultai doesn't prepare for it, right? You see Sultai's now main decking Elder Gargaroth and stuff like that because their old plan of just ramp up into a 7-mana sorcery can't possibly beat the I'm all counter spells and dragons deck.
Yeah.
So then that changes everything. Like, regrettably, rogues kind of got pushed down to the wayside because of it, because it's pretty hard for rogues to interact with this deck, I think.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the other kind of big addition, other than Prismari Dragons, is just these sacrifice decks that didn't, they're kind of token sacrifice decks that are probably tier 2, but the fact is they could just come in and win a bunch out of nowhere randomly. Like, I think Andrew Cuneo brought it to the Strixhaven Championship, did quite well with it, so...
Oh, I guess I didn't.
Or maybe the League Weekend is what he brought it to. He brought a red-black, token-based sacrifice deck to something.
Interesting. I remember somebody bringing it. I don't remember who it was. But yeah, I mean, this was even to the point where it's not specifically a Strixhaven card, but I saw some new players on social media complaining about Battalion. What is that card? The black enchantment, the 2 and a black for the drain effect, and you get a 1/1.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Bastion of Remembrance.
Yes. There you go. Bastion. So basically, I hadn't. It was to the extent that people were complaining about Ruin Crab. I saw some folks complaining about that card. I was like, whoa, right. This is kind of fun. That new players are like, this card needs to be banned. Fuck this card.
It's tough for new players because it's very difficult to interact with.
Exactly. And it was just cool to see, some of these Strixhaven cards could enable this strategy, pulling something from Ikoria. It was just that was fun to me, popping up out of seemingly nowhere, but you had already called the shots for that one, I think.
I still don't think it's tier 1. I don't think it's hit that level yet.
Yeah.
It'll need some more help from Forgotten Realms to make it there, but it could be definitely a deck that, depending on what we get over the next few sets, could be a deck to watch out for. Just these Plumb the Forbidden token-based strategies.
For sure. Absolutely. But then also, so if we're talking about formats and stuff, Historic has just been...
Yeah, that's the one that definitely got impacted by Strixhaven. The only other thing I was going to say about Standard is that Paulo is everywhere. Naya Adventures became the best Adventures deck because you just slap Paulo in there.
Because Elite Spellbinder
and it actually becomes almost white-based.
Because it just... That card's awesome. It's so good. It's so fun too. I love it.
Yeah, he made the right choice of the 3 options he had. He
That's
chose
definitely
right
the one to play. Because that card's even in historic, right? They're playing that in like kind of hate bear company decks. Man, historic has just been the cards had to get banned. Like, you know,
It's just been wild, man.
I was thinking it was just like crazy fun, but I feel like a lot of people think it's a dumpster fire right now. But
Yeah, I mean, you look at it and you're like, yeah, okay, so obviously they just printed a whole bunch of super powerful stuff into the Mystical Archives to go right into Historic. But like you're saying, Paulo's in decks, and also Velomachus Lorehold was one of the problems, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a card in the set proper.
exactly, that was awesome. Expressive Iteration is everywhere as well. So
Yeah, great card.
it's been fun. I'm super happy that Brainstorm's in the format, which is almost pushing out Thoughtseize a little bit, because then I can play Azorius Auras again. Super happy with that. Like that quite a bit. So yeah, I am I'm happy with Historic. It's been just super fun to play a ton of different decks. Where before I felt like there were only a handful that you could play.
Yeah, it's been rough on my old wild card count, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I definitely don't have any of those right now.
I think I have one because I opened a Time Warp at one point, so when they banned it, they gave me one.
Hey, I had already crafted my Time Warps and then got the wild cards back, but
Nice.
that was one of the first things I did actually was play a Time Warp deck that was not good at all, but I liked it.
It wasn't the Time Warp deck.
It
It
was-
was a Time Warp deck.
It was a deck that played Time Warp, yes. Anyway, so as far as like Strixhaven with the enemy colors, how did it feel? How did they go? Like, were you happy with where everything landed? Which ones were your favorite ones? Did they do what they were trying to do?
I think so, yeah. So the big thing about this set was they wanted to see if they could do 2-color factions and not have it be Ravnica. Right? And I think they definitely proved that they can do that. Like, Lorehold is not Boros.
Absolutely not.
It's not even close.
No.
Like, they completely different play styles, the types of cards you expect to see in each of them, totally different. And so I think on that level, it's hard to call it anything other than a success. Right? The paradigm's completely different, you know. I guess, you know, blue-red is still a bit controlling in both Ravnica and Strixhaven, and green-black is still grindy, but that's kind of just like a certain point you have to do what the colors do.
Yeah. You can't push it too far away. I do think of most of it, the one that I was most disappointed with was Quandrix. Just seems to be, oh look, it's Simic again. Oh look, I know this card. It's a Simic card. Wow.
Yeah, like Mark Rosewater was saying that that's the one that took them the longest to nail down. Like it changed from a go wide strategy to a ramp strategy.
Right.
I think that kind of is apparent that they kind of changed their mind on it because some of the cards feel like they're doing one thing and then some of the other cards do something else.
Yeah,
so.
well, because then you have Biomathematician, which is making another creature and then kind of changing the power and toughness on a bunch of your creatures.
Yeah,
and then
so that wants you to go wide.
Yeah, and then you have the Golden Ratio, which wants you to have a bunch of creatures with different powers. And you're like, okay. But then you have just classic Simic cards that are just like, hey, Eureka moment. You know, hey, Growth Spiral twice. Or, you know.
Even like the Quandrix Dragon himself seems a bit unsure of whether he wants you to go wide or go tall.
Yeah, it's like both. At least it doesn't let you draw a card and put a land into play.
They learned their lesson with that one.
Yeah, it's draw a card and then put a land into play for each creature with a different power than other creatures that you have. Oh, God. So that was my only gripe with it, but I think everything else... And it's not even that, like, I don't like Quandrix. I do. I actually think Quandrix
That's the thing
is super fun.
Quandrix is one of my favorite pairs to draft, actually.
Absolutely. Where normally I'm going to try to stay away from Simic as much as possible. It's just not my... general value doesn't really get me going. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, this is good. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been having fun with, like... Funny enough... I think Prismari is one of my least drafted. Well, or that and Lorehold. I think Lorehold is super cool, and I will probably look at those cards more than any other cards. However, I just didn't play it very often. and I was mainly
Lorehold's
playing.
got to be my least by a lot.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason is just that, like, I felt like I would have to draft even more than I did to be confident drafting it, because it's kind of complicated to put together.
It definitely is, and there are some really key uncommons that you need, I think, to make it work.
Which already pushes you into it way less frequently.
Yeah, exactly. But overall, yeah, I agree. It does feel a lot different than Ravnica, and of course, because there's a comparison, everyone's like looking at it and trying to figure out if there's a fault or not or anything. But yeah, I think they did well. I coming into the set, I had really low expectations. I was like, wow.
It's like Ravnica Light or something.
Yeah, it's like Harry Potter,
with a bunch
Ravnica.
Exactly, with a bunch of Harry Potter jokes or something.
That's what I was expecting. I was like, okay, this is going to be a bunch of Harry Potter stuff, and they're going to try to make sure it's not Harry Potter, but whatever. But, as the set came out, people were talking more about how it's related to Ravnica or different things than Harry Potter at all. Like, I just kind of forgot. Once the cards came out and we were playing, we didn't really talk about Harry Potter that much.
I mean, we did because we just wanted to make the joke.
Yeah, we did to make the joke, but like the set, when I'm playing the set, I'm not like, oh, well, this is the Harry Potter card, and this is the card that's supposed to be this character, or
there's no like Albus Dumbledore.
Yeah, there's no like headmaster, there's no like, oh, this is the dean that's supposed to be Snape for the potions thing or whatever. None of that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't feel like that even just like a little bit, which is great. Even in the story, I was like, this doesn't feel that much like, well, maybe when they're at the stadium, maybe when they're watching Mage Tower, does it feel like, they're watching?
Definitely.
That's the scene where you're like, okay.
Feels like Mage Tower just didn't need to be a part of it.
It really didn't. The only thing we get from Mage Tower is an important plot point in the story.
Yeah.
And the reason why we have all the summoning lessons.
Yeah, it explains the mascot.
Yeah, that like, this is, and that was a really key part of the limited environment, or just like those in general, those cards. So that was important, but it's not a very interesting game. It's just capture the flag essentially. So
with magic
capture the flag. You're right. And towers. It's on top of a tower. So that was a little weak, but that's all right.
But like you're saying, I just wasn't thinking about any of this cheesy stuff when I was actually playing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like even when I drafted mascot interception, I wouldn't really be thinking about. I'd kind of laugh maybe about because it shows up in the story and I know what the card is about. And then that's it.
Yeah, I wasn't. It was like, it's referencing itself. That's funny. As opposed to, this is like some moment in Harry Potter with Quidditch or something. So I think,
or like I did laugh every time I cast mascot exhibition, but for a different reason.
Yeah.
Just because the card is absurd.
It is absurd. Real quick, just about mascot exhibition, because I definitely was not high on it, even in the slightest, when I was looking at it during previews, or like even at the beginning of drafting. I was like, okay, whatever. You get like 3 creatures for 1 card. I was just like, it just doesn't seem that great. It seems good. It's like, yeah, but I didn't think it was going to be great. Turns out it's great.
Yeah.
It's really...
Although it still irks me that it's like, why was there a mascot exhibition that only 3 of the colleges were invited?
That was one of the reasons why I was like weird about it. I was like, okay, so I don't understand.
I guess I get that it's hard to make a fractal token because like then you have to tell me how many counters to put on it. Mm-hmm. I feel like there could have been a pest.
Yeah, and there could have easily been a pest if the mascot exhibition cost more, and it made a 1/1 pest, and then a 2/1, and then a 3/2, and then a 4/4, and then a 5/5, and then you play Golden Ratio.
Love it.
Would have been great.
Because you're not going to win without those 5 extra cards drawn.
Exactly. Maybe you have to like discard 2 cards to play it, or just make it a shitty card. It costs 12 mana, and you have to discard 2 cards. There's a reason why I'm not a game designer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because I remember in the New Year's episode, we were kind of looking ahead to the upcoming year, what we knew at the time about sets that were coming out and stuff. I think we both kind of expressed that Strixhaven was the one we were least excited about.
Absolutely.
Of the upcoming, of the stuff we knew about. Like, we knew that we were going to be going back to Innistrad in some capacity. We knew that there was the Viking theme set. And then we knew Strixhaven, and we knew the
Dungeons and
Forgotten
Dragons, yeah.
Realms. Yeah.
So yeah, I remember being like, that one seems like let's just skip through it. Okay, this is gonna be cringy, and
Right.
I just completely the opposite. I'm like,
And we were most excited about Kaldheim, and I
Yeah.
think all told, I liked Strixhaven better than I liked Kaldheim.
I think the lore of this set is just
The lore of Kaldheim was very good.
this episode is just gonna be us comparing Kaldheim to Strixhaven.
Yeah, this is the Kaldheim v Strixhaven.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the lore of Kaldheim was super cool because there's so much of it. But then that story was like, okay. And this one didn't have as much lore, but I almost like it because I'm excited for more. Where Kaldheim, I feel like I learned a ton of stuff, and there was a lot to get through. And I wish that was almost 2 sets because of the amount of stuff
Definitely,
in
yeah.
it.
Like we talked about, I think, in the Kaldheim Happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Should have done this in 2.
Yeah, just together. Anyway, do we want to get to mechanics right now?
Why don't we, my beer's getting low, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll,
Okay, Jeff.
this will be a good spot for a beer break.
Yeah, do you have any last thoughts before we go to the beer break? Because I don't want to cut you off or anything.
No, this time I think I'm just ready for the break.
All right, let's go to a beer break. Ooh, got that shumai. Wait, shumei? What did we say? What did you say?
I said Shumei.
Shumei. All right, well, I'm drinking a shumai then.
I'm drinking a Racked Over.
Oh, that Quebecois. Anyway, where do we leave off? Mechanics?
Yeah, so you were saying that you didn't think Mascot Exhibition was a very good card. And I was just going to point out that the reason maybe it didn't hit us at first is because we just had no idea how to evaluate lesson learn.
Absolutely. I think
We hadn't learned our lesson yet.
we didn't learn our lesson. I definitely have learned my lesson now.
Yeah.
Because coming into this, lesson and learn was my number one least favorite mechanic. I thought it was really sketchy and seemed really dumb.
I hated it.
I hated it. I didn't like the way that it sounded. The idea of doing that and just tutoring cards all the time seemed really lame. I was just like, this is going to be bad. And I have completely changed.
Yeah,
just
totally.
180, absolutely. Almost a whole 360 change.
So wait, you still don't like it? I'm confused.
But yeah, I don't even know what to say. I love it. I thought drafting it was super fun. It made for really interesting gameplay. I liked that you always have like an out almost. It's like, okay, well, if I draw that one card that gets me the lesson that I need, it helps to make sure that you can like get creatures on time. It's also funny because the amount of people I played against who started valuing those cards really highly when we were playing, where they're like countering a learn card just because they know I don't know what you have in your sideboard, but I'm not going to let you go get something. So it's worth getting rid of this card that doesn't have a lot of value right now, but whatever you get, I don't want to deal with it. Don't even let you go try to snatch it. It was, I'm hooked. I love it.
You're like cram session and there's hell no, counterspell.
Yeah, no, I'm not even kidding. Like, and I thought cram session was the biggest piece of garbage ever.
Yeah.
Like I remember looking at the set being like, that's stupid. Like, who would ever play that? And now I'm like, that's a good card. It's really, it's really good.
Looked like bad, looked like horrible revitalized to me.
Yeah. You're like, oh, gain 4 life and then get a 2/1 flyer? Yeah.
All about that.
That's like, fuck yeah, dude. That's awesome. So I'm going to give it our stamp of approval, which is home run slam dunk. Absolutely.
Home run, the slam dunk, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never changed my mind this hard about a mechanic.
I don't think I have either.
Like often I'm like, all right, it sucks less than I thought it would, you know? And that's about as generous as I'll be. Or like, this was okay, and I thought it was horrible. But I actually thought this was horrible and it was great. So, like, I've never been that wrong about how I would feel a mechanic, would play out afterwards.
Absolutely. I think they did a really good job figure out all the lessons, the ones that are colorless, the ones that are hybrid. I thought it's great. I love it.
I think maybe the infamous mascot exhibition doesn't have to be a thing. Like, I get you want to do the big splashy one, but and it's fine because it's mythic, so it rarely shows up. But what's cool about these is that you're not always just going to get your bomb. You're going to get just something to do.
Yeah.
So it like helps fill out your curve. It's why like the X one is really good, the fractal, because it's just like, oh, I don't have a turn 5 play, but I happen to pick something up on turn 3, then I curve turn 4, turn 5, this thing. And then,
exactly.
You know?
And especially if you're doing like on my turn 2 play gets my turn 3 play, and then you go into that.
Totally.
That kind of stuff.
I love field trip, man. I want a field trip into whatever. I don't care.
And field trip's great with any, the fractal summoning or any of the big ones, because you're like, I just ramped into the card I need to play to, help win this game.
It really feels cool when you do that.
And not even this mechanic is sweet, even to the point that I have not even remotely explored the idea of actually just like looting instead of going and getting a lesson. That's even a part of what you can do. I just to its credit, Arena makes it really difficult to do that.
Yeah.
You have to be very conscious about like clicking the button that says go back to your hand, and then you have to click the button. It's to the point where, is it a loot or is it a rummage? I don't even remember.
I think it's a rummage.
Is it a rummage? Because you have to go to your hand to click the card to discard? That makes sense. But I haven't even done that. Like not a single time. Even if I don't have any good card to get from my sideboard, I go and get it anyway.
Yeah, I've done it in constructed because I wanted to discard the Croxa in my hand.
Oh,
that's the only reason I did it. I didn't there was something in my sideboard that I kind of wanted, so I had to decide: do I want to go get this or do I want to discard Croxa? This. And I decided that playing out Croxa for realsies this turn was more important.
Yeah,
so actually.
That's pretty good.
Patted myself on the back for remembering that I had that option.
Yeah, and doing it correctly. Because if you just go and say, "Oh no, I don't want to get a card from my sideboard," you hit decline. You just decide not to do anything, and then you just gain 4 life. You're like, "Oh,
yeah." This is how I thought Cram Session was going to play.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't. I also love that we're just not going to get a bunch of it. It's not super overpowered, so it's not like this thing that's going to dominate any format really. They
made the lesson cards intentionally weak for constructed play, so it really makes it more of a limited mechanic. But the actual mechanic is almost strong enough in constructed. I keep trying it; it's never quite what I want it to be, but it's sometimes it feels fine. So they really hit the nail perfectly on the head with the power of the lessons.
Especially because all the removal spells aren't great,
Oh, they're cards you would never play in your constructed deck.
You have to either you give them another card if you destroy something, or you have to give up one of you two for one yourself. So, I think they did a really fantastic job. I don't think we're gonna see it very much because thematically it probably won't fit in anywhere.
Totally. Yeah.
But I'm just so happy we have it, and it is one of the big reasons why I like Limited so much. So, I go back on my word about how much I hated it, or thought I hated it. And it really makes
you pick them at weird It's the first time I've had to think about picking sideboard cards up early in best of 1.
Yeah, it's great.
I used to do it in best of 3. Sometimes the sideboard cards were so good. It's like Aether Gust or something. That it's actually worth considering taking it, because if you ever play against a green-red deck, it's the best card in your deck. But this has had a different feel to it, where it's like, oh, I picked up a really strong lesson. I should be looking for learn cards now. Or I picked up a few good learn cards. Now I need to get some lessons into my sideboard to make those really worth it.
Well, it's also because I had played... We talked about this a bit, but Academic Probation is one card that I thought was just a stupid white card that's useless. But when you can choose when you want to go get it, it makes it really good. It's you don't ever draw it when you don't want to play it. So that makes all of those weird off cards that were I would never want to main deck this card.
But because they all look atrocious, right?
Yeah.
But even Mascot Exhibition, I don't know if it would be a bomb if it wasn't a lesson.
Yeah. And and like the field trip goes and gets it, right? So,
Perfect.
I don't know. I'm very pleasantly surprised. It was a huge highlight of the set. Bravo. Yep.
Yeah. Just
Absolutely.
yeah. It's A+. Home run, slam dunk.
Home run, slam dunk. But let's move into the other new thing that we got that we've seen hints of before, but Magecraft.
Yeah, I also think this was a really cool execution on this. You know, it's kind of a simple idea. You know, they've done it like you said. You know, they've had prowess before, or they've had just cards that essentially trigger when you cast an instant or sorcery. But just I think the big thing here was having it do different things, right? So it's not always +1/+1. It's not always a +1/+1 counter or whatever. It's because when I first read Liliana, I misread it a bit wrong and thought that the mechanic drained 2 always. I was like, well, you can't put this on anything, can like?
Oh,
How can you have this mechanic on a 2drop? Like that would be insane.
It's just like everything just drains, and the whole game is just draining back and forth.
Drains for 2.
Yeah,
Because I didn't realize the templating of the mechanic was such that I'm telling you what to do when you Magecraft. It's not,
it's what they call an ability word, not a keyword.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't think of the exact terminology.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, but no, that's key because that's what gave the different colleges their differentiation was how they used their Magecraft triggers.
Yeah, it was a beautiful way of being like, hey, everyone has the same ability, but like they do different things depending on what your flavor is. Oh, just another one. Beautiful. I love it. It also feels like fixed prowess, kind of, because most of the time prowess was supposed to be play lots of spells and get them really big, but a lot of the times it also just triggers on your really cheap artifacts and different things. So you can have like weird prowess stuff with weird artifact shenanigans and stuff like that, which is just like that wasn't what it was supposed to do. It does work, but like it triggers on like almost every spell you play except for creatures. And now this is specific. You have to be slinging spells or it doesn't work.
They've made that change quite a while ago, of getting rid of prowess because of that reason, and they gave stuff like pseudo prowess, but it only triggered on instants and sorcery.
Yeah. So being able to name this is great. I think the name is good too. So, yep. I'm not as surprised with this one because I saw it and was like, yep, that's good. I like it.
Yeah, we know how this one's going to play out. Right?
Exactly. But going with that into another mechanic, which is just like a fixed other mechanic, right? So this feels like fixed prowess. Well, Ward kind of feels like fixed hexproof and like better shroud, right? So we went from when they started all the, hey, you can't target this thing. It started as shroud, which was rough because no one can target the thing that has shroud. It just is.
Yeah.
And then they're like, you know what? Not good enough. Let's make it hexproof. And I was like, ooh. And then they were like, let's try hexproof with colors instead of protection. Okay.
Yeah, like hexproof from black and
or
stuff.
something. It's like, all right, it's okay. But this feels better. Well, not stronger, but like a good design space. There's like a ton of stuff you can do with Ward.
I think so. This is better because you can tailor the individual additional cost to the power level of the card. So obviously you can tweak the dial on how much protection something gets versus how good it is. Because part of the annoying thing about hexproof is it's like hexproof on anything is so annoying that it's like even a 1/1 for 1 with hexproof sees a considerable amount of like modern play. That's how ridiculous it is. So it's like they have to use it extremely sparingly because it just ruins games if it's on the wrong creature.
Yeah.
So this is a lot more like, well, yeah, we make the Ward pay 3 life, and then, all right, that's something that is totally feasible. You can actually interact with this, and it kind of tells you, hey, if you want to play with this and you want it to be protected, then you want to be attacking your opponent's life total so that this is a harder cost for them to pay.
Yeah. And it kind of shows you how you want to do that. It's the same with like, it's basically just giving Bone Crusher Giant like a ability word.
Yeah, except that Bone Crusher also hates its owner.
That's true. It hates. It's like Shroud.
It's like Shroud Ward. Yeah.
But yeah, I just love that there's so many different things you can do with it, and you don't have to put a bunch of words onto the card as well. It's just like ward, whatever the cost is. Can be mana. I think it would be really fun if they brought. I mean, I think they're going to keep it around. I read something that was like, this is say goodbye to hexproof. We're doing ward basically from now on. Just because, you know, in limited, there's that. I don't know. I think it was Amonkhet. There was just a stupid crocodile that was like 5 mana it was like a 5 power crocodile with hexproof, and it was just like an annoying thing to deal with. It's just like, oh, how do you? I can't kill this thing because I have to have a bigger creature or lose 2 or 3 cards or a board wipe, which doesn't happen really. It's just like, okay, great. This stupid common or uncommon or whatever is just kind of like unbeatable a little bit in limited. It's like, this sucks. This shouldn't be that hard, right?
Right.
But if you have ward, it's like, yeah, okay, it takes me 2 or 3 extra turns to do it or something. But I still have the ability, the tools that I have pulled together from the draft will still help me get rid of this thing. I'm excited to see if they do other things, like whenever it gets targeted, the controller gains life, right? The opposite of the lose life.
You can do a ton of stuff.
Or, you know, I think it would be kind of fun to help out maybe white or something, is that, the ward is like you have to pay a white or something. And it's like, well, if your deck doesn't have any white in it, you can't target this thing. But if you add white to your deck, then you can.
They get into some weird ass mana bases. Everyone just has one of each triome.
Yeah. And that's, or like, they really value treasures or something, right? Could be a really interesting design space.
They have been going harder on the treasures. That's
sure. So is it worth sacking this treasure just to hit this thing or whatever? I'm down for that. I'm happy with Ward.
Sack a treasure.
Ward. Yeah, you have to sack it. Because then, you know, that would be really, really hard to achieve. Because your deck's just like, okay, I can't target that anymore. And then it's essentially, you know, depending on which matchup you have, essentially it's hexproof, which I think is a good way to be like, hey, we want this card to be basically hexproof. So let's give it a really difficult ward cost.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the second treasure one. That's good. That's so good. But anyway, all of these have just been like, I was looking back at this because I couldn't even bring them off the top of my head. I was looking them up. I'm like, oh yeah, these are all awesome. I'm so stoked.
Ward wasn't on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So it hasn't really impacted many of my games. But hey, like hexproof always does. So
yeah. So I'm a little sad to see hexproof go, but ward is harder to put on spells, I think, where you're like, target creature gets ward 3. You know, that's like, feels weird. They might do it, but
gets ward, like pay 3 life.
Yeah. Maybe there'll be like some auras that do it. They're like, hey, this creature gets ward, whatever. It's like, okay. So we'll have to see. But yeah, happy with that one as well. Going into a mechanic that we've seen for a while, and this is the last of the 3 sets apparently that are going to have it for a while, I guess, are the modal double-faced cards. Ugh.
Yes, MDFCs.
MDFCs.
For sure.
All right. How do you feel about them in this set, specifically? Just that.
For me, this is the worst execution of them that we've seen so far. I think Zendikar Rising was the best, because having it be a land or a spell is just so simple and so integral to how those ones play.
It's also extremely easy to remember.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know what one side does, and I know the other side is a tap land. Like, you know, because they were also really, other than the mythic rare cycle, they all were just tapped.
Yeah.
And tapped for 1 color. So it was really easy to know what they all did. Kaldheim played around with it a bit more, but I still found it was easier to remember them because it was like Allrund and his Raven, or, you know, like Tybalt comes from Valky.
Yeah.
So they were gods that had a specific thing about them.
Yeah.
You could remember what they flipped into.
And the other thing about that is that almost all of them were the same colors, right?
Yeah.
So like there were a couple like
not Jorn, but
Jorn wasn't, and Asika wasn't. and then Valky. But besides that, just about all of them were like, all right, I'm white, I flip into a white thing. I'm blue, I flip into a blue thing. And it wasn't super confusing besides the handful that you're like, yeah, well, that's the one that cares about 5 colors. It flips into a 5 color thing. Sure. I think with Strixhaven, I still don't know what a lot of the cards do.
Yeah, I don't know what most of them
This
do.
is the happy hour episode. I thought I would have, at least at this point, have read all the cards. I still haven't read all the cards, man.
I don't know what most of the deans do.
No. And it's the hardest thing. Like the deans I can be good with, right? Because it's like, sweet, okay, I get it. There's 5 of them. You're a color of the colleges. It's one and the other. That's cool. I like it. It works with the story. That's fine. But there's a bunch of other ones that I'm like, is this one a dean or not? Or is this, who is this? What is this thing? I had a hard time with it.
Luckily, there aren't like that many of them. But yeah, like there's, I don't know, there's the Eldrazi looking thing that on the other side is like a ramp spell or something.
Yeah, but no one plays the ramp spell because like it's the archaic thing, right?
Yeah.
That like you get to copy every spell. Like that card's
Right.
really annoying. It's like it basically has ward 2 because if you try to kill it, it's gonna copy the kill spell and kill one of your things. You're like, oh.
Oh, there's more of these than I remembered.
Yeah, there's a good amount of them. There could be like, you know, there's like 10 or more. I think there's more than 10, but
There's 16 actually.
there's 16. Okay.
Yeah.
And I just can't even remember all of them. It's just like, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Like Will and Rowan, you got to do obviously.
Sure. Like that one was the best one, I think, as far as like flavor wise. And then, but besides that, like Extus, sure. Like, that's seeing some standard
I've played
play.
that one.
Yeah, I've played that one. I know what both sides do. I like it. And for the most part, when people are playing them, they're kind of playing it for one of the cards. So it really punishes you if you just like don't remember what the other side does. Most of the text of the set are on these double face cards just to...
Yeah, it's just too many cards where both sides are already very complicated cards.
Yeah. Like I don't think there are really... There might be one elegant design of all these, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe Selfless Glyph Weaver that flips into the Deadly Vanity. That was one of the ones that...
and it sacks to give indestructible.
Exactly. So it is a thing that sacks to give indestructible. The other side is like it destroys a bunch of shit, right? Cool. All right. That's pretty simple to remember. I might have to like read it to know the specifics, but for the most part, it's not hard to remember. Some of the other ones are just like, I don't know, man. To be fair, I haven't played against a bunch of them. I have had some of them in drafts and played against them in drafts, and I've read them for that moment and then kind of forgot, just because I knew I'm going to have to reread this every single time.
Yeah.
So
I'm fine that we won't be getting any more of these for a little while.
This is what I'm happy to take a break from, is the double face cards for a bit. Until we get to Innistrad. It's going to be like one set. We're going to have one set without double face cards. We go to Innistrad, there's going to be a bunch of double face cards again.
Yeah. But they'll be a bit different because they flip instead of like cast either side.
So you know it's like inevitable.
Those will be DFCs, not MDFCs.
Yeah. Whew. Get rid of that one letter. It really helps. But yeah, with this, actually, I do want to point this out. There were... maybe this is just us transitioning into the next part of the episode, but... there are a couple cards where I was like, they win like the, what is it called? Signal Pest Award.
Oh yeah,
right?
That's true.
They have I thought this card was a picture of something, but then when somebody pointed it out to me, it's absolutely not anything what I thought it was.
Yeah.
It's this other thing instead. So Jeff, you showed me one of these. Do you want to help the audience?
Yeah. So. How do I even... The Red Dean, right?
Yeah, so it's the Prismari Dean. It's...
Nasari Dean of Expression.
Yes, that's the one.
Got him here. So if you're looking at this card, I always thought that he had a pointy head, or they had a pointy head, or some sort of hat that is right in the middle of the of the frame. But that's actually Nasari's arm. Their head is to the left of that and below it a little bit, and they're kind of doing like a dancing thing where they're horizontal and their arms are vertical. And so when that got pointed out to me, I just like my mind was blown. Like I was seeing something completely different that I guess I hadn't looked that closely at, because now I can't see anything but what was intended. But
Absolutely. Yeah, because it kind of looks like it was this ribbon, because it's an Ifrit shaman. So you already know it's going to be a kind of strange looking thing. But it looked like a ribbon monster that had a pointy hat that was on fire, and one of its arms is also on fire. And then its other arm is like holding this thing, and it's like walking towards you with its ribbon body. However, it's not at all. It's just a humanoid that's doing this sweet flip.
yeah, if Nasari doesn't look humanoid to you, you're not seeing it correct.
You should look at it again. It's also really important because Nasari is one of the characters in the side stories for the if you were reading any of the side story stuff. And so if you didn't know that it wasn't just this ribbon monster, it would have been really weird the whole time. You're like, wait, okay, so this ribbon thing's talking to Rutha?
With the like fiery head.
I'm so confused. But this isn't even the only one that this happened to me with. And this has been very recent, within like the last couple days, I think, where I was looking at Duress.
Okay, Mystical Archive Duress.
So it's the Mystical Archive Duress. And
Let's pull these up.
for a long time, so it's a picture of just the top of this like woman's face, it looks like. And I thought that she had butterfly wings on her head and kind of a crown-ish thing. But actually, it's somebody's hands scooping into her brain and taking something out of it.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the hands. So
Yeah. Which
that
makes...
one I was looking at normally.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad that you got it, because I definitely didn't. For a long time, I was like, oh, it's like she has these wings on her head. And it was just like...
Oh, I see. Like a weird crown kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is kind of a strange... Like, she has like fairy wings on her head. Okay, whatever. And then I kept going. But it makes a lot more sense when it's someone scooping out her ideas, because that's what duress is. So
Totally.
got it. But I just love... It's so funny because you can play a whole set and talk to people about cards and everything, and they might be thinking it looks like something completely different.
Yeah.
So those are the two cards I give the Signal Pest Award for, which if you haven't seen Signal Pest before, go look it up.
Take a look at Signal Pest. I was misidentifying what that thing looked like for like 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to play it a lot. I liked it. And then eventually...
Played some Signal Pest in my day.
It was the Signal Pest. And then...
Didn't know where its head was for 10 years.
For 10 years, I thought it was like spitting fire.
Yeah.
No, it's its hand. Its head is right.
It's like big arm.
I kind of liked that it was like this little bird thing that
I know.
shot.
I like it worse now.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't look as
now
cool.
that I know what it looks like.
Yeah. Sorry to whoever, I guess, painted that. I thought it was really cool when it was like a little bird.
It felt more aggressive the way I was seeing it before.
Yeah. Now it's just like a crab thing with like laser claws. I don't know. Anyway, so that we don't really give awards out on this show like that, but I thought that was fitting for how absurd Nasari for just I had played
Nasari really got me. Yeah. That's its leg. Oh my god.
I feel really dumb. Wow.
Yeah.
But it's also that thing, you don't have the card in front of you. You're not holding it and looking at it. I also don't inspect cards the way I used to when I was a kid, where I would like really pay attention to them. However, I guess I still, thought Signal Pest was whatever it was. So maybe I didn't really do that. But anyway, but kind of talking about the past. It's not really the past. It was a couple months ago. But we had an episode that was our Strixhaven First Sips where we did our Worth a Slot segment. And we thought it would just be kind of fun to go back and see if any of those cards actually were worth a slot or not.
That's right.
Let's find out. So, Jeff, this first one is yours. Do you want to just like tell us about it?
Yeah. So my first one was Magma Opus. This is the 6 blue and a red instant that you can discard for a treasure token at the cost of 2 mana. And it does all of the things.
Lots of
It deals
stuff.
4 damage, divided as you choose, taps 2 permanents, creates a 4/4, draws 2 cards. I remember I was specifically talking about this in Standard because it had kind of already proven itself to be a historic card.
Mm-hmm.
It never really broke out in Standard, or hasn't yet.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of sees some play in the Prismari Dragons decks, but most of them have been cutting it, actually.
Interesting. Okay.
But it really blew up in Historic. So.
Yeah. All over the place.
Yeah.
So it did prove to be worth a slot. So I think you were right.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. There's no way that it wasn't. And I was like, it's a big mana spell, and I never really like those. So I'm like, yeah, it's expensive.
It's an instant
Whatever.
speed ultimatum, man.
Yeah, it definitely is. You were right with that. Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
My first worth a slot was Elite Spellbinder, which is a 2 and a white for a 3/1 flying PVDDR. That
Creature type PVDD.
yeah, basically. It is a human cleric, which might be important in the future. As far as the cleric goes, I guess the human might already come into play. I don't really know. Anyway,
Historic humans must be getting close.
yeah,
Kudro and stuff.
yeah. But it ETBs, and you get to look at your opponent's hand and exile a non-land card, and then that card costs 2 more to cast, even if Elite Spellbinder is gone from the battlefield.
I knew this card was good as soon as I read it. I think it's even better than I thought.
It is a lot better than what I thought it was. It's a great attacker. People want to kill it just because it's a 3/1 flyer. And you get to really hose. You just like throw just wrenches. It's just a wrench thrower. I need an alt of this card that's just throwing wrenches.
If you can dodge a
Wrench, you can dodge a ball.
That's the flavor text.
Oh, that's so funny. Yes, absolutely. Not that I love the art, and I really enjoy that. But if I could just...
Oh, it's got to be the same art
Yeah.
with like a wrench photoshopped in.
It's got to be a wrench in the corner where it looks like it's being thrown by PV's hand.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, this card's been awesome in a bunch of different kinds of decks. People are playing white so they can play this card. I knew it and I love it. I'm so happy. It's sweet. And playing Elite Spellbinder and Draneth Magistrate is just chef's kiss. So good.
Worth a slot.
Worth a slot. All right, so those were our layups. So I'm happy that we were right with those.
Yeah.
These were our, what did we call them? It was like our free throws or
Yeah, maybe 3-point shots.
maybe
I
they were
don't remember.
3-point shots.
I went with Plumb the Forbidden, 1 in a black instant. As an additional cost, you can sacrifice any number of creatures, and for each one you sacrifice, you get to copy the spell. You draw a card and you lose 1 life. I mean, there are decks that play this.
There were a lot of decks
Or,
that
you
play
know.
this.
A lot of people are trying to make this work. Put it that way.
And I think so. It has worked. And I've played some of those decks, and it was a lot of the times the only card that would get me out of certain situations. And the great win condition where I'm like, oh, I have a couple things on the battlefield that are whatever, different stuff, some sacrifice shenanigans going on, and kill people out of nowhere. And they would be like, oh, I'll be fine. And you're like, nope.
When you're playing the deck that plays this card, you always want to draw this card pretty much.
And the only thing that stops it is like Whirlwind Denial or something. Because
Yes, which has happened.
yeah. But yeah, because you like if you counter the first one, it doesn't matter. There's a bunch of copies, so
Yeah.
a lot of things will still happen. So,
Although it got like bugged out when this set first dropped, and someone copied the original copy of this, and then I didn't get the copies, and I was very upset. I'm pretty sure that's not how that's supposed
not
to work.
that. Oh, right. I remember you telling me about this. Yeah.
I lost to Dimir Rogues because of it.
Oh. Well, all right. I want Dimir Rogues to still be a great deck, but anyway, that's a different situation. But yes, I think that I would say that this card is definitely worth a slot, and if I'm playing black, it's something I would think about. So
I think so. I did pretty well in a tournament with it once.
yeah. So before we were split, but that was just because I was being a dick to Jeff. So, however, this next one, just gonna say it right away. This is
Might have bricked this one, buddy.
yeah. This is Draconic Intervention. It's 2 red for a sorcery, and you have to, as an additional cost, you have to exile an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, and then it deals X damage to each non-dragon creature, where X is the exiled card's mana value, and then you exile all those creatures that died, and it exiles itself. And the Prismari Dragons deck doesn't even fucking bother to run this card. Doesn't give a shit.
I still think the power level here is pretty high. The reason that it's weird is because the Dragon's deck just kills you with giant flyers.
Yeah, it doesn't
So
need...
they don't need to wipe
Yeah.
your board.
Like, it has other ways of doing all that stuff.
It wipes your board by reducing your life total to 0 very quickly.
Yes. It has play or kill. And then that's the best kind of kill spell. So, you know, maybe we'll still see... You know, who knows what we're going to see after rotation, but I do agree that
When the format really powers down, this might have a chance.
Yeah.
But,
There are some caveats to this that really pull it back. So
it's also just like, I don't know what you're exiling. Like, part of the problem with this too is that deck, a lot of its spells come in the form of creatures because it's Brazen Borrowers and Bone Crusher Giants. Yeah. And then it runs, you know,
expressive iterations.
Iterations. So unless you somehow get an Alrund's Epiphany into your graveyard, I don't know what you're exiling to wipe the board with.
Yeah, but Alrund's Epiphany also exile itself.
I know. That's why I said somehow getting it into your graveyard.
The only thing would be like, hey, do you want to play those Prismari spells and get a treasure, and then...
Yeah, you could do the Prismari command thing and loot too. But...
You could loot, or you could be like, oh, I guess I don't want to have my Magma Opus. Deal 8 to everything. Yeah, it's not good. Don't play this card. I'm sorry, it's not worth a slot.
Not worth a slot.
All right, Jeff, what's your other worth a slot?
My last one was like a full court shot here?
Yeah, yours are the full court shot.
We got Luca, Wayward Bonder. It's one of those double-faced cards that you guys forgot about.
Yeah.
It has the Fox on one side and the Luca on the other side. And I've never seen anyone cast it.
Not even... I saw someone cast the Fox in Limited. And I was like, did you really play the Fox on this card? You don't even want to play the...
It's just a 2/3.
Yeah. It doesn't even have any... The other abilities don't matter because you don't have any Planeswalkers for it to... Whatever. Yeah, it was...
I guess it's like, if you target my stuff, I draw a card.
That's kind of what came into play, but it didn't...
Why doesn't it say permanents you control have ward-draw a card?
That would be cool. Why doesn't it have that?
Or ward-I draw a card, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, because it's or ability, that's why.
Oh, and ward is on...
Ward's just spells,
is
right?
spells, just targeting spells. Yeah. Haven't seen it. Don't know if I'll see it. But it was your half-core shot, so like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So probably not worth a slot. My full court, or I think I was behind the backboard outside of the stadium, just like...
So ward is or ability, by the way. So
Is it a or ability? They just decided not to put it on the card. Weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my whatever shot from way out in the boonies is Mavinda, Student's Advocate. It's the 2/3 flyer for 3 that has an activated ability for 0. You basically get to pay or play your instant and sorcery spells from your graveyard. And as long as they target your own stuff. And if they don't target your own stuff, they cost 8 more to cast. You can...
It's such a weird card, like a 0
so
mana
weird.
activation.
Yeah.
Could this not have been a static ability somehow?
Yeah. So you can activate it on each of your turns, but for the most part, it just makes your Defiant Strike good. You can play it twice. And that's kind of what it does. I played it in Standard a little bit. I had fun with it. It was fun with like some, what are they, like Leonin Light Scribe and Clever Lumomancer. Those decks were kind of fun with it because it just gave you some extra gas. And I saw some other people try it too. Even PV had talked about in an article. PVDDR had talked about, hey, you want to play a Clever Lumomancer? This is one of the cards you would play.
He was just trying to convince people to play his card. I probably had 4 copies of Elite Spellbinder.
But
here's my totally unbiased deck list.
Yeah. So the card has proven to be not amazing. So I probably wouldn't build your deck around it. I do think it's okay to have like 1 copy if you're playing that deck. That's like a Magecraft thing, but for the most part, that deck is much better with just like adventure stuff. So
yeah, again, maybe when the format powers down.
Yeah, so
if we get a lot of like cantrips, that target kind of thing.
It's a lot better with cantrips that are like pump spells. So because being able to pay 2 mana to give your creature +2/+0 and draw 2 cards, it's actually pretty good. But don't stop playing this card. If you play this card right now, you probably shouldn't. Unless it's, if you build a sweet 100 card historic brawl deck,
There you go.
maybe. But anyway, let's go into those were our worthless slots that we had from last episode. Jeff, do you think we should talk about some of our favorite cards from the set really quick before we go to last
Sure,
call?
let's do it.
All right. So, what's your favorite card from Limited?
All right, so it was tough to choose whether this card was going to win the Limited Award or the Historic Award. But I'm going to go Limited, and I'm going to say Stone Rain.
I knew you were going to say Stone Rain.
At the start, I said all I wanted to do is Stone Rain people in Limited, and I did pull that off very recently.
You did.
Or we pulled it off.
Yeah, we played a draft together, and it was quite stony.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep, Stone Rain was sweet. It was so fun to just pop up every once in a while. Especially because not everybody wanted it. It was just one of those cards that you would pick it up later in the draft. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
sure, I'll take Stone Rain. Are you kidding?
Too hard to pass up.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like Stone Rain. I do think that I don't know if this award. It's my favorite card for Limited, probably, but it has more to do with just the story behind it. And so I think my favorite card for Limited was Burying Books. And
Okay, that's fair.
and-
That's like a real answer.
it's a real answer in the sense that it's a really good card. Stone Rain's a really good card. It's really good. But I liked Burying Books because people legitimately, the first week, didn't think it was a good card. They were like, oh, this card's they just 5 mana, put a card on top of, or a second from the top of their library? That's not good.
They've never been hit by a totally lost then.
Yeah, a Totally Lost, but also Swept Away and some other these cards. That was Swept Away was from Oath of the Gatewatch or something. I
It's
thought
like a supercharged totally lost.
Yeah,
is how
I was like,
see it in.
it's great. It's just so rough to draw a card again. Memory Lapse we saw all throughout Historic, just being drawing that card again sucked. And Burying Books, it just became. It was just fun because people thought it was trash, and then people thought it was amazing, and then people started to be like, it's really good. Kind of came back from first picking it to maybe fifth picking it. But yeah, I just think that when I look back on this Limited format, I will think of Lessons, but I will also think of Burying Books as that was the time when, I actually thought that card was good before people thought it was good. That never happens to me.
Yeah.
I always think the card's trash before it's busted.
That is the more common experience. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought you were going to go with Mana Tithe.
Oh, I barely played Mana Tithe. That's so sad. I even added it to my Silver Quill Auras list and it just never did anything. It was
Your opponent just always happened to have an extra
it
mana.
was just a bummer. But for Standard, what's your favorite card for Standard?
All right, so I have a weird pick here because it's a card I've never cast.
Interesting.
But it's a card that I go back to constantly and try to make work. And I think when I tell you the card, you won't be that surprised that I'm picking it.
Okay.
The card is Ecological Appreciation.
Okay.
This is X2 and a green, and it's like the Tooth and Nail meets Gifts Ungiven cards. So you look for 4 creatures with different names and reveal them, and your opponent chooses 2 that enter play, and the rest get shuffled back in. So it's basically it's a lot like a Dubious Challenge, actually.
It is like a doobie. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So every time I want to figure out if there's some collection of cards I can get to make this thing busted, and I haven't cracked the code yet, but I'm excited for new cards from the upcoming set.
Yeah.
And this will be whenever a new set comes out, this will be the card I look back to see if there's anything in the new set that I can make work with this.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've actually played this card in Limited maybe a couple times.
Oh yeah?
And it's great. It's great because it also goes in your graveyard. So a lot of the time you're like, well, you kill my best thing. I can also be like, hey, do you want me to have this other thing again? That'd be cool.
Right.
And sometimes
Get that back.
they're like, yeah, I dealt with that already. I know how to deal with it. Whatever you searched out from your library, though, fuck you. No, you're not getting that card.
Oh,
Yeah, so it is pretty interesting to see what people say yes and no to. It has a fact or fiction kind of thing.
Yeah, and currently it has the problem that's I don't know. It's going to be a 7+ mana sorcery that isn't as good as Ultimatum.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
until Ultimatum rotates, no one's going to
that's
play
soon.
this. But
That's coming up soon. For my favorite standard card, honestly, I think like I didn't want to say this, but like I think it's Sedgemoor Witch.
okay, cool.
I've played this card a bunch.
That was on the list for me.
Yeah, I've played it quite a lot. And basically just trying to find a card that Elite Spellbinder might be probably one of my favorites. But like we already,
I had you on going Paulo here.
yeah, we already talked about that, so I thought I'd talk about a different card instead.
That's fair.
But I have probably played Sedgemoor Witch more in standard than not. Strangely enough, just because I've played a couple, maybe some lists that you had and some other people, and I was like, oh, this would be fun. Yeah, and actually,
Yeah, you said you were doing the Plum the Forbidden thing.
yeah, I did some
natural combo.
exactly like the Forbidden thing, which you had mentioned. Yeah, it's just a fun card, and yeah, to the point where like people will just they know they need to kill it immediately, and it's like you play it whenever you play it, and like it's probably gonna die. So it
They'll pay the 3 life. That's what I've found out.
Yeah.
They're willing to pay that.
They will do
life.
it because they probably can't block it very well anyway, so they're going to get hit with it over and over, and then by the time they decide to kill it, they will die if they kill it. So,
or Sultai is just going to clean everything up with Shadow's Verdict.
That's rough as well. That happens.
If you don't have a Plum the Forbidden, you're going to get got by that.
Exactly. All right, so historic. What are you thinking? What's your favorite card?
All right, so I think there's the obvious choice, which I'm not going to go with.
All right.
So I have to go with a card that is not Brainstorm.
I'm surprised that Brainstorm is even like one of your favorite cards.
Oh, right. I thought we were just doing best card. Oh, yeah. No, Brainstorm's not even close.
Okay, I was like, that doesn't seem like a card you like at all.
Yeah. For some reason, I was like, we're doing most impactful or best cards. No. I just chose ecological appreciation. What are you talking
about? Exactly.
Okay, well then I think it's clear cut for me. It's Lightning Helix.
I knew you were going to say.
I love this card.
I knew you were going to say Lightning Helix.
Yeah, and I think it's close to one of the most impactful. It's good, but yeah, I've loved this card since I was a kid. So the joy I get out of playing with it again is like something that is very cool for me. So.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I have a just weird tie of cards that I didn't think would ever be the ones I would be looking at. But I think what I'm actually going to pick is Ephemerate.
Cool.
I did not think Ephemerate was going to be one of my favorite cards. I haven't really played with it before, but there was a deck that I was playing early on that I was just like, man, this is so fun. I got to play.
Ephemerate is so innocuous looking.
Yeah.
Until you actually play with it, you don't realize what a cool card it is.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
I love the art on it. It was just super fun to play. Lots of like white ETB cards was just like really sweet. But like the runners up.
So that's an angel being sucked in or emerging from some sort of portal.
Absolutely.
Just so you know what that art is there.
Oh yeah, I did understand what that art was. Thank you. However, I also really like the other ones that were like really close. I'm just gonna throw some extra ones in. Was Grape Shot, super fun. Holy shit, I love.
Did you ever storm somebody out with Grape Shot?
Many times. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
you did that.
Yep. There were so many goddamn clicks in that deck. That's how I stopped playing because I was
It just feels like there's so many like more powerful things you can be doing in historic than trying to storm someone. Like that feels like the hardest way to do it.
It 100% is because it takes forever and it's really boring. And you could just start your combo and just keep going and hope that your opponent just scoops. Because you could be like, I have a Grape Shot, but they could be like, maybe you don't have a Grape Shot though, and you're just doing this. Anyway, that, but also I think Memory Lapse is still sweet.
Yeah, Memory Lapse. Memory Lapse is on my list too, I think. I've always loved Electrolyze too, but I don't think anybody's
Really?
been playing it.
I think that card sucks.
It didn't used to suck, man.
Yeah, it just always like, oh, sweet, deals 2 damage, divided. Oh, fuck. Divided? That sucks. I'm annoyed.
You see 2 damage, you see 2 targets, you're like, oh, here we go. Oh, divided between 2 targets.
You're like, oh, sick, I can kill 2 Inklings. Nice. And then, but draw a card, that's good.
Electrolyze is great against certain cards, right? Like anyone playing a bunch of X1s gets electrolyzed out of the game.
Absolutely.
And then the problem is like that's just not really what's going on in historic. Because I remember playing Electrolyze in modern, and it was good because you could like everything had 1 or 2 toughness that everyone was playing. You know, your opponent's playing Dark Confidant and then something else. You just like kill both of those, draw a card. That felt great.
Yeah, absolutely. That doesn't happen in historic, really.
I was wondering if Approach of the Second Sun was going to creep into your top list somehow.
Well,
I remember you're having fun playing that one.
So the thing about Approach of the Second Sun is that it's already in historic, so it's just like a new. It's just a new art.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a Strixhaven card.
No.
I guess.
So I was thinking about doing that though. I was like, you know, it'd be great if I just said like either a card that you can't play, like Swords to Plowshares, or like
yeah, Counterspell.
Yeah. It just.
I thought about saying Tainted Pact. You know.
Yeah. Oh, Tainted Pact was the most fun ever. Second to Lightning Bolt. You know, but anyway, those are the that's Strixhaven. That's what we think about Strixhaven.
Yeah, great set.
Great set. If you had to rate it on a scale of bronze to mythic, what would you? Is that a good rating system for this?
No, remember we're just supposed to make it up.
Oh, right. Sorry. So on a scale of a thumb down to a shooting star, what do you rate it?
I think I would give it champagne emoji.
Ooh, champagne emoji's good. Ooh, I like that one. Okay. Yeah, you nailed it pretty hard with the champagne emoji.
Yeah. So is that where we're landing on this one?
I'm absolutely agreeing with you. This set is champagne emoji, for sure. Champagne emoji, hard eyes.
Question.
That's good.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep. So that is what we think about that. But ooh, Jeff, do you hear that ding-a-ling-a-ling ring in?
What? I'm not hearing it.
All right. Well,
is my audio cutting out?
No. It's just last call. That's it.
Oh,
Yeah. So let's go grab our last beers for the night.
Let's do it.
Are you ready for this big reveal?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Yep. We both. Well, I picked Shumai. I don't know what you picked.
I picked the beer that I brought.
Yeah.
Shumi.
Shumi. Shumai. Who knows?
I do actually because I just looked it up.
It's Shumi.
It's Shumi. We were both wrong.
Oh wow! Look at us being dumb.
And as far as I could tell, as just a quick glance that I saw while I looked up Shumi pronunciation, it's like a religious movement in Japan in the 1970s.
Oh, in Japan. Interesting.
It sounds Japanese, right? Like,
I guess I was thinking more Indian, but okay, that makes sense too. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, Japan. Got it. Great.
So it's Shumi, apparently.
Shumi. So we both picked Jeff's beer. Classic. Jeff bringing a great beer. But let us roll through our rating system real quick.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard before, we rate our beers on a scale of bronze to mythic, which is the same as the tiers in Arena. Hey, look at that. How nice is that?
That's right.
And as always, these are just ratings for the beers. It has no reflection on you as a person who is playing Arena and what tiers you are at, because everyone's in a different place in their life.
I've been in all of these tiers at some point.
Absolutely, I have. And if you are a bronze beer, you are absolute trash, and you are not worth being finished. Sorry, I'm saying you. That's really aggressive. A bronze beer.
If you're a bronze player.
You sorry, that's exactly the opposite of what I wanted.
I take offense to that. I'm sure I'm bronze in something.
A bronze beer is something that is trash. You don't ever want to drink it again. You don't want to finish it. It's just throw it in the garbage where it belongs.
Yeah, silver beers, macro brews, or particularly uninteresting craft beers.
Gold is, this is fine, but you won't really drink it that often. You don't really think about it, but, it was okay.
Platinum, next level up, you will drink it again. You do think about it. It was solid.
Mm-hmm. Diamond is exceptional. You would definitely recommend to a friend or even Jeff.
Ouch. First he calls me a bronze trash, and then he calls me not a friend. Mythic is the absolute best. You would recommend this to anyone who will listen. If you saw somebody considering this at the store, you would tell them to buy it.
Absolutely. So let's start with the beer we picked. We never have a real order for this, but let's do
Keep them guessing.
Shumi. What was that again?
Shumi.
Shumi. Okay, Shumi. I like Shumi. I like Blood Brothers. You know what's funny is that like this isn't the beer I think about when I drink Blood Brothers. And I don't get it often. It's kind of like part of my order. Usually I just buy boxes from them and they bring a bunch of different stuff. And I'll have it in there and I'm like, yeah, this is nice, but it's not why I went to Blood Brothers. But drinking it by itself and specifically getting it for this, maybe be like, oh yeah, this is good. I do like this a lot.
Totally, I feel the same way. So I think one of the things was that I would go to Blood Brothers to get their beer, or like you're saying, order it online, for a particular purpose to get some Blood Brothers. And so this one was always like, oh, it's just an IPA. There's nothing fancy about it.
Because they have a
so
lot
it was
of
never one that I would pick, I guess. But this made its way into the LCBO, the chain of liquor stores, and I saw it there, so I was like, oh, okay, I like Blood Brothers. Let's just pick these up. And it's good.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm going to go out on a limb. Not on a limb. I think this is a Diamond IPA for sure.
Yep, I had it at Diamond as well.
This feels super strong, and I'm really into it, and it's reminding me how much I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty solidly in there too. I wasn't considering Platinum or Mythic for it. So
yeah, I definitely felt like it was that's exactly where it needed to be. So it is great. Go pick it up if you can, because it's more accessible now, which is great.
It's just like your classic kind of strong IPA. There's nothing weird or crazy going on. It's just a really well-made beer.
Yep, it's really solid. Better than some of the other ones we had recently that were trying to be this. And this is a good example, I think.
Totally.
But let's jump over to Wellington Brewing, the Raked Over, their IPA with mango, pineapple, and habanero peppers. Habanero.
Yeah, I didn't really like it.
It was okay.
Yeah.
So the thing about it, I'll just say my thoughts first. I did like that the habanero wasn't lying, right? The biggest thing I thought when I got this beer was that, it's not going to have any sort of pepper flavor at all. Like it won't be spicy. And it was spicy.
Oh, it is. It is spicy. Yeah.
It definitely has a little...
For a beer, yeah.
Yeah, for a beer. But it has like that kick where you're like, okay, there's a little bit of a bite. And it has it fits well with the IPA bitter. And like the bitter comes on your tongue and then it kind of stabs you with the habanero. And you're like, okay, I like that this works out. The mango and the pineapple don't come into play as much and give it a juiciness that I was hoping. But I am happy that it did deliver on the spiciness, and it's the only reason I got it. So it did basically what I thought,
Yeah, for me, I was getting almost all the spiciness like right at the end. It's almost like at the back of my throat after I take the sip. I was getting punished for taking a sip. Like, how dare you take this? But I remember having a similar, like years ago, it was a jalapeno beer from a place, and I remember thinking the exact same thing. So I think for me, I might just not like,
Spicy
chilies
beers.
or peppers in beers.
Sure.
Even though I actually love chilies in cooking and in food, like I'll add it to everything.
Yeah.
But
so this is one of those.
Don't care for it in the beer.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just, before I keep talking about it right now, I'm just gonna like nail down. I'm gonna actually say that this is gold. I don't think it's worse than that. It's definitely just like, yeah, it does what it needs to get done. It's like you pick it up for the fun because it's like, it has peppers in it, and that it does that, and that's it, and you're good.
Yeah, I mean, for me, gold is the only thing that made sense, right? Like, it's not bronze, it's not trash like those players you were talking about earlier when we described the rating system, and it's not a macro brew or it's a beer with nothing going on. It definitely has interesting things going on. It's just that I think they're not for me.
Yeah.
So this is the fine but won't drink again, or won't often drink it category.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it does actually remind me that one of the reasons I picked it up is because in my hometown there was a beer that was made at a local brewery that was made with green chilies. It was like a green chili lager almost, and the green chilies, like if you had green chili enchiladas, it's very like flavorful and kind of like vegetal, and it's not as spicy. It has a little bit of spice to it, but it's not specifically a spicy pepper. And that thing was awesome. I mean, there weren't a lot of people that would like it. I don't know if you would like it, but I thought it tasted like, oh, I'm drinking like, it really tastes like green peppers and beer basically. And it was, I thought it was great, and I could have a bunch of them. So I was kind of hoping for something close to that because I kind of missed that a little bit, and this was not on the mark at all for that. It was, reminiscent, but
Like I say, I just love spicy peppers in general and chilies. Mm-hmm. So every time I see these beers, I want to try them, and I never like them.
yeah, it is one of those funny things that, like, this never pairs with spicy food, right? Mm-hmm. IPAs in general don't taste very good with spicy food because they have so much stuff going on that you're really hoping that your drink has a little bit, it's going to refresh you a little bit. Right. So it's like drinking like a really heavy red wine with like tacos. You're like, oh God, this is like,
so all the like Latin beers are always just lagers.
You want something really cool and cold that can refresh you after you're having that. It's like a mojito or something where you're like, I know you don't like mint very much, but something that will balance out what you're eating. That's what pairing's all about. Anyway, that is how we feel about those beers, but I think it is closing time. So, as always, you can reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
Did you wait to say closing time while I was taking a sip so that I couldn't sing? Or?
I did, yeah. I wanted to make sure that you're just going to cut that out.
That was well timed. I guess you got me this week.
I got
I'll
you.
be on guard next time.
All right.
You can also find us on MTG Arena. Send us a sticker or a emote. We'll be under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg. That is ZeulBerg on Twitter and Instagram. But Jeff, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at BluesBrewsMTG, BluesBrewsMTG.
Very nice. And please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, on iTunes. Follow us on Spotify and Stitcher. Go to our YouTube channel. We might have some new videos coming up. So check those out. If they're there, give us a little like and subscribe. Click the bell so you can know when we post new stuff.
Yeah, that's might get to see some Stone Rain action.
Maybe you will. You'll have to check it out to find out. You'll have to go to our YouTube to find out at the YouTube.
That was so eloquent.
That's why I'm an actor, right? This has been the Arena Regulars,
reminding you that a lesson learned is a lesson earned.
Good night. All right, that's fine.